hopefully everybody's able to have something that they can write on. If you don't, go grab it now. You'll be right. Won't take too long. Piece of paper and a pen, be worth it. Because today we're doing something a little bit different. I thought, we're online again, we're back at home. We have an opportunity to do things that we don't necessarily do in a normal week when we're sitting in rows at church. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit different today. I was listening to a bit of a devotional earlier this week, and it just got me thinking a little bit about my plans, my priorities for the year ahead. And that was a little bit of the sort of inspiration for today. What we're going to do on that piece of paper is we're going to have a little bit of a 2022 planning session. We're going to think a little bit about the year ahead and what we're planning for it. And I think Lou in that piece of paper had an opportunity to write down different dreams and goals and plans for the year. And we're sort of all going to do something like that together. So I think, yeah, the idea really here is to come up with a list of New Year goals. Some people are habitual goal setters. Some people have goals constantly running in their life. Some people make the most of the New Year's tradition of setting a resolution as their opportunity to set some goals. Maybe you're someone who does that every year. Maybe you're someone who does that even more often than that. Maybe you're someone who's not really much of a goals person. But today, hopefully that's been enough time for you to find a pen and paper. Today, what we're going to do is you're going to have only a couple of minutes, and I want you to, on your piece of paper, come up with, it doesn't have to be 10, but 10 things you want to do this year. They can be super meaningful, important things, big resolutions in your life. They might just be little fun bucket list things. Take it however you want it. I'm going to put some music on in the background, and we'll have a couple of minutes to come up with 10 things that you want to do this year. Does that sound okay? Excellent. Okay, well, the end of that music signals to me that it's been 2 minutes. So you may not have finished all 10. Hopefully you have. Hopefully you've got some fun things on that list. And hopefully you've got some kind of meaningful things on that list as well. Well, we're going to kind of do things a little bit backwards today. Every time that we gather together for a leadership youth meeting, like when our youth leaders, when we get together at the start of a term or start of a year and do some planning, we always have a bit of a process. And I'm sure that if you've ever been part of a planning meeting for anything, you've done the same thing, where you don't just start off with coming up with ideas and things that you're going to try and plans. Usually, I think it's good to start off with a bit of a question of what is our deeper vision? A bit of a chat about, what's our purpose? What are we actually aiming to do here before we come up with the more sort of specific ideas? If you've ever been part of, organizing, planning things, I'm sure that you've had the same thing where you come up with your vision, you come up with your purpose before you come up with your plan. We don't just get together on our youth leader planning nights and go, let's just do a pizza night. Let's have a fun barbecue or a laser tag or something like that. Usually we'll sit down and chat through again. Why are we here? What are we doing this for? And then that will inform the kind of plans that we come up with. Often we find that a lot of the ideas that we might have otherwise had will usually still work and will work within the vision. It's not like we have to completely throw out everything we would have come up with. Often it all sort of works in there together. But every now and then, by doing that process of thinking sort of the bigger picture, it just might help us to rethink just a few of those ideas and to sort of shift our focus a little bit. Hopefully that makes sense. It's funny, I think when we think about our New Year's goals, we don't necessarily go through that same process. I think we don't necessarily take that moment to step back and think about, what is my actual purpose? What is my actual vision for my life? What is the actual meaning or purpose for my life? And using that to inform our New Year's resolutions. I'm not sure that that's something that we necessarily always do when we set our New Year's goals. It might just be things that we're working towards, or things that we want to do that we've struggled to do. Yeah, I think a lot of the time, potentially the things that might end up on our list of goals or resolutions. I mean, I've just now, in the same amount of time as you guys, come up with a little bit of a list. There's some fun things on there, do some family adventures and beach time and some more intentional prayer time and stuff as well. But I think a lot of the time, maybe when we come up with New Year's goals, we might be thinking actually quite small picture. We might be thinking about immediate changes in our life. We might even be thinking about things such as financial goals or different life experiences. I mean, probably the biggest thing that people like to set as New Year's resolutions is health goals, whether it's eating better or exercising or something like that. Things which are definitely important, things which deserve a spot on your New Year's list. But things which maybe ultimately in the context of eternity are still quite small picture. Things which have their place, but don't necessarily really fulfill our purpose and our reason for being here on the planet. And so, yeah, today we're going to be thinking a little bit about that big picture. We're going to be asking that question: what am I here for? Why was I put on this planet? What is my purpose? And I'm going to suggest that there should be one thing on every single person's list this year, and one thing which should be on every single Christian's list every year. One thing which is, I think, the main thing that we are here on earth to do. It definitely doesn't involve temporary things like money or success or happiness. It's not that kind of a goal, as important as those things are, like we've said, but those things only sort of last a moment. There are some things that last for eternity. I've got a few common suggestions that Christians might use to answer this question: what is your purpose? I think here are some of the maybe key reasons that people might give for what our purpose as Christians is here on earth. I think some of us would say that our purpose here is to be faithful to God and to resist worldly temptations, to live the way that the Bible teaches, to not be stained by the world. In fact, that is almost directly out of the Bible. So I think that's part of what it means to live a Christian life. I think others might say that our reason for existing is to be in relationship with God and to grow in our relationship with God. That's really a very important, or maybe the important thing in life, is to be growing in your relationship with God, to be spending time praying and learning and hearing from Him. That's kind of the main goal. Or others might say that the main purpose of life, maybe the most common answer of all, is that the reason that we're here on this planet is to worship God, to bring Him glory. That both explicitly in the way that we worship Him, but even just implicitly in the way that we live our lives, that we're here to bring glory to God. It's kind of interesting, though, I think, when you look at a list like that of reasons why we're here as Christians. And I think the Bible does definitely talk about all of those. But if you think about that first one, for example, of being faithful to God and resisting worldly temptation, if that was God's only desire for us, that once we become Christians, that His desire for us then is just to be faithful to Him, it's interesting, why, I guess, would He leave us in the world? Why would He not just take us to heaven? Because in some ways, it would be a lot easier, will be a lot easier for us to be faithful to God, to resist worldly temptation, when we're with him in eternity. So then what purpose do we have for the rest of our lives here? Is it just waiting to be more faithful and to be with God? Is that kind of the purpose of life, just waiting for eternity? Even that second one, growing in our relationship with God. There's lots of opportunities to do that in life. Maybe some of those things were on your to-do list for the new year. Those are all great things to be praying and reading your Bible more and things like that. But if growing in our relationship was the main purpose for our life here on earth, again, in heaven, we'll be able to have a much stronger relationship with God even than we have now, to have much more explicit connection and relationship with him. So then, yeah, is our time here on earth just sort of waiting until we can know God more fully in heaven? And that final one, worshiping God and bringing him glory, again, that's what we're going to be doing for all of eternity. If that's our only real purpose here, then we could just go to eternity now and we could just go and do that. When you think of all the different things that are going to happen across this year in 2022, a lot of it will be consumed by the urgent, won't it? A lot of what we spend our time doing every year is just dealing with the things that are before us, with the day-to-day of being alive and being a human and eating and working for those who work or studying for those who study, the things that are just in front of us all the time. A lot of our time gets taken up by the urgent, by the sort of worldly things that we still have to pay some attention to. Hopefully, at some point in 2022, you also have time for the important as well, not just the urgent, but also the important, the things that have eternal significance, the things that really matter in life. But really, I think there's only one thing, like I've been saying, one thing which is both urgent, because if we don't do it during our time here on earth, we won't have another chance after that. So it's urgent, but I think it's also important because the effects will last long beyond our life into eternity. What is that one thing that's both urgent and important? As Jesus puts it himself, I think that one thing that should be on everybody's list is to seek and save the lost. Well, not for us to be the savior, but to see them saved. To seek and save the lost. There's a story in the book of Luke in chapter 19 where Jesus is having lunch with a tax collector called Zacchaeus, a man that was despised and hated by his community. He was a traitor, he was corrupt, he was greedy, he was sort of the scum of society. He was a bad person, or seen at least as a bad person. Of course, it was scandalous that Jesus would associate with a person as bad as Zacchaeus. It was not right for somebody who claimed to be a man of God to be associating with this man Zacchaeus. But in response to that, Jesus actually says that that's exactly what I've come to do. He says, I've come to seek and to save the lost. It's the one thing which will matter forever, seeing people enter into relationship with God, to see the lost return home and enter into eternal life. It's the one thing that will matter forever, but by the time we get to heaven, it will be too late for us to do anything about it. That's why Jesus says he came. And we see that sort of reflected, that heart to seek and save the lost, that mission of seeking and saving the lost. We see it all throughout Jesus' life and ministry and the disciples that he chose. They certainly weren't people who had it all together. I think lost is a fair word to describe the people that Jesus chose to follow him. We see it in the stories that Jesus tells, in the way that he reveals himself and he reveals the character of God as the one who finds the lost things, whether it's sheep or coins or prodigal sons or whatever it might be. That it's a core part of God's plan for us, is to see the lost saved. And we see it even in the instructions that he gives to his disciples to go out and to spread the good news, to spread the word that God wants relationship with people. We see it all throughout Jesus' life and teaching. And so I guess what I'm kind of getting at here is that if you're a Christian, if you're someone who says, I'm a follower of Jesus, the reason that you're here on earth is to be part of God's mission to seek and save the lost. That really is, I guess, our purpose during our life here on earth, is to be partnering with Jesus to see the lost return to him. That's what it's all about. Everything else that you might have on your list, everything else that I've got on my list, I've got some great things on my list that I really hope that I do, and I hope you do as well. But everything on that list might be important. It might be urgent. Keep all that stuff on the list. But today I really want to challenge you in 2022 in your own life to make it on your list. If you've got your pen and you've got any room on your page, to add to your list this commandment really that Jesus gives for us to join him in seeing the lost come to know him, to accept Jesus as their savior. Just to, I guess, give an example or give an idea of that, going back to that idea of our youth planning meeting, where sorry for the poorly, it's a funny photoshopped. If you're wondering why a few people look kind of strange in that photo, there's some Photoshop going on. But that's our youth leadership team, or that was our youth leadership team last year. There's a little bit of personnel change. We've got 18 awesome leaders there, some adults, some who are peer leaders, still high schoolers themselves, who have signed up for a ministry on Friday nights, which is a big commitment. Most of them are juggling jobs and study and family and social lives. And, youth group itself can often be a pretty challenging ministry. Often by the end of the night, people are feeling pretty tired or worn down. It's definitely potentially a full-on ministry. But for each of those leaders, they make it a priority in their life because it's such a massive opportunity to see lost people come to know Jesus. There's huge opportunity to find people who don't know Jesus, who maybe haven't really even heard the good news ever in their life before, and to tell them about God, to give them an opportunity to not be lost anymore, to be found by God and to be saved. And even for those leaders, it's not just a matter of, well, I've signed up for Friday night youth group, so I'm sort of doing my part. I'm doing what's required of me to be playing my role. Really, it's a core part of the heartbeat of the leaders, is that they want to see people saved. In fact, even at the moment, some of those youth leaders are away on a beach mission up. I don't know exactly where they are, but there's beach mission teams all across the New South Wales Central Coast, people who are giving up, Christians who are giving up their Christmas break, their New Year's break. A lot of them only have 4 weeks of holidays a year, and they're spending 10 days off in different campsites across the coast, finding people who don't know Jesus and trying to introduce them to him. They want to see people come to know Jesus. And of course, it doesn't have to necessarily be through official programs either, does it? It doesn't have to be through things like signing up for youth groups, signing up for beach missions. These are just some examples that I've given. But it doesn't actually have to be any explicit ministry either, does it? I know that in my life, there have been plenty of opportunities, if I'm looking for them, to have intentional conversations with friends or co-workers or family and talk to them about different matters of life and faith and philosophy and spirituality. There's definitely opportunities, I think, for those things to come up. It doesn't have to necessarily be that we sign up for a weekly ministry or an annual trip. It might just be being willing to have our radar up and be looking for those opportunities to witness to people, to share the good news with them, to lead them to Jesus. Today's our first church gathering for the year, and I'm starting off this year with a bit of a challenge for us, that every single one of us who identifies as a Christian, as a follower of Jesus, should have as one of our goals for this year, one of our resolutions, that we would help someone who is lost to find Jesus. I think that needs to be on everyone's list. I think that needs to be on all of our lists, not just in some broad way I'm contributing towards that by doing something, but to actually have on your list, I will lead someone to Jesus this year. That's a pretty big challenge potentially. But if we're taking a moment here to sort of step back and think about our purpose, our vision for life, our reason that we're here on this planet, the reason that you're not in heaven yet, what you're going to do with the rest of your life, I think that leading people to Jesus is just about the most important thing that we can be doing here. Let me just finish off by saying that New Year's resolutions, if you're anything like me, often get abandoned pretty quickly. I think that's a common experience for a lot of us. Motivation sort of drops off. And potentially one of the big killers is that different excuses can creep in. And sometimes they're more valid excuses than others. I think potentially people might already be able to think of some excuses and be subconsciously preparing excuses in their mind for why this purpose, this meaning might not apply to them. Let me just roll through a few of the sort of key excuses that I can imagine. I'm not the right personality type. I'm just not the kind of person that can share about that kind of stuff. I get flustered. I don't explain things very well. I'm not really the person who leads them to Jesus. I'm the person who just kind of like encourages others and I don't know, contributes in some other kind of way. I'm not really that person that could do that. That I guess it could be an excuse that you feel connected with. Another excuse that people might have is I don't really have that many connections with non-Christians. You know, most of the people in my life or in my circles or in my family or my friends are already Christians. So I don't really know that many lost people. Better to leave it to others who do so that they can have those sorts of connections. Maybe for some people, it's more, I'm just kind of working on myself at the moment. You know, I still have a lot of growth to do myself. I'm not really that ready. I'm not advanced enough as a Christian to be leading anyone else to Jesus. I'm still figuring it all out myself. I think that's an easy one to tell yourself for decades, potentially. And maybe the most popular of all is I'd rather just leave it to someone else. You know, we've all got different jobs, we've all got different gifts. Someone else's job can be leading people to Jesus. My job, I'll find another job and do that instead. I think that all of these excuses might sound inviting to us, and maybe there's one or more that resonate with you, but I'd really encourage you not to be someone who makes excuses. I think we all could make excuses for why I'm not the right person to be witnessing to someone, why somebody else should be doing that instead. But really, it's a core part. If we're someone who says, I'm a follower of Jesus, it has to be a core part. It is why you are on this planet. So let me encourage you not to be making those excuses. For me, there's been lots of great things in life. You know, I could rattle them off: friendships, adventures. Moving to the Central Coast was a pretty great thing that happened in my life. Marrying Eva, the birth of Elsa, our daughter. I've been blessed in lots of different ways, but easily the greatest blessing of all is that when I was lost, somebody reached out, took the time to tell me the good news of Jesus, and that's changed my life more than anything else. In fact, lots of people contributed towards sowing those seeds through scripture in school, through youth groups and things like that. People aren't going to know unless they have people to tell them. I pray that this year, 2022, is a year that we see at Greenpoint lost people coming to know Jesus. I'm praying that that's a big thing that we see this year. I think that God is doing big things. I think over the last years, we've seen lots of people growing in their faith and even coming to know Jesus, and it's exciting. I'm praying that 2022 is a year where more than ever we see that happening. Let me encourage you to be thinking and praying about what that might look like for you. Maybe even you have specific people in mind that God might be putting on your heart And yeah, let me encourage you to be bold this year. If there's no one on your heart, don't worry. There are plenty of people out there who need to hear about Jesus. So we can all be looking for opportunities together. Why don't I pray to finish off? Lord God, we thank you for the joy that it is to know you, to live in relationship with you. God, we thank you for all the lives of all the people here just in this meeting now, and all the people who are part of our family at Greenpoint, for what you've done in speaking through people, that you have taken each of us. Each of us was lost, and each of us in you is found, that you came to earth and you saved us, Lord. We thank you for the incredible things and the incredible stories that the people of Greenpoint have. Lord, I pray that you would help us to be part of more people's stories, that you would help us to really have a heart like you do for the lost, that we would be thinking about those people in our lives, whether they're friends from work or neighbors or family or whoever it is, Lord, that you would just be putting them on our heart, that we would be bold in looking for opportunities to lead them to you, that we wouldn't be making excuses, leaving it for somebody else, saying that's just not really my thing. Lord, that you would help us to see that our time here on earth is short, and that more than any other thing that we can be doing here, we ought to be thinking about the lost and introducing them to you. Lord, we'll have all the time in the world in heaven to be worshiping with you, to be growing in relationship with you. The one thing we won't get to do is tell our friends and our family about you. So Lord, I pray that you would help us to be bold this year in leading people towards you. And we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thanks for that, Will. Yeah, great challenge for us to be keeping our eyes on the most important thing in regards to our purpose. And you're going to be hearing a lot more about that this year from us as a team, as to for us as a church, not to be just a group of disciples, but to be a group of disciple makers. Jesus called us to make disciples, and that's the challenge before us, is what role are we playing in others coming to know Jesus? That's incumbent on all of us, and so we're going to be really placing a big priority on that this year, and Will's done a great job in laying the foundation for that. May we see fruit come through us as a church this year, as people come, lost people come to know Jesus. So thank you very much for joining us this morning. It's been great to share together. Happy New Year again. And what a beautiful start to the year. Don't know whether La Nina is going to allow us to continue to have this beautiful start to the year, but it's beautiful at the moment. So get out there, enjoy it, stay safe. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time, but church is on next Sunday, but we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. God bless everyone. Oh, it's a party tune to take us out. Celebrate the new year. Dance, everyone. All right. God bless. See ya.